Thanks. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
Cool. So like Kirk said, I'll talk a little bit about Homebrew. Just a little bit about me. I'm a research engineer that works at a group called the Rat Lab. We do research and development consulting for other companies that are doing VR. Just going to run this presentation here. So we recently started this group called Homebrew. If you're wondering what it is, it's basically a group that's going to give the VR community free stuff. That's it. Free tutorials, open source code, VR cookbook, you name it. We're just going to find what we can to provide to people. And the reason that we're really doing this is, I really want to see the VR community become a really innovative community, right? And I don't really see innovative communities being ones that are made up of people who have information and people who don't, and the people who have information are the ones that are innovative, and people who don't aren't. I think an innovative community is really one in which everyone can share the same information, but it's a person who can take what everyone else knows and do something special with it that makes them innovative. So the idea behind this is really just giving everyone as many resources as possible, making sure that everyone's kind of at the same level playing field, and then kind of going from there and people, raising the status quo and having people come up with their own innovative ideas from that. So enough about Homebrew. Let's just jump into the tutorial. So welcome to the first tutorial by Homebrew VR. We're just here to teach you guys how to make a 360 video app. I say we because I'm not the only person in Homebrew. I'm not crazy. I have one other teammate that couldn't be with me today. His name is Ryan. He's getting his PhD in I think like something dealing with medicine and computer science. He's a genius. And I have one other teammate who is just joining us on doing talks too. His name is Tron, and he works with me at the Rat Lab. So, before we get into like the technical nitty gritty, I think it's really important to help you guys understand what a 360 video actually is, right? And it's really simple, at least from the perspective of making it in Unity. Basically what we're doing is taking a video file that's usually projected onto a 2D plane, and we're trying to project it onto some spherical dome or mesh, right? It could be spherical, it could be cylindrical, whatever. You're inside of it, you're looking, right? And if you want to break it down a little bit further, basically all you're really doing is taking a sequence of images and applying each of those images to that mesh, right? That's what a video file is. It's just a sequence of images, right? And so what we really need to understand is just a method of taking an image file and basically taking a mesh and mapping that image file to a mesh. And if we understand how to do that, we can kind of apply that mesh to a changing image or a video file, right? And luckily, in 3D graphics, we had a UV mapping technique that allows us to do exactly that, right? We have an image file and we have a mesh, and we basically want to say this point in the image file matches with this part of the mesh that we want to show it on, and this part of the image file we want to show on here, and we basically want to have this overall output, right? So I kind of broke it down into these 3 steps. It's much more complicated based on who you are, and obviously some of you know a lot more about this. More goes into this than just these 3 steps, but if you're new to this, the basic knowledge is that you just want to take a mesh, you kind of want to split it in half and lay it out flat, right? Just get all the points within the mesh kind of laid out in a 2D grid. And based on the image that you kind of, the image plane that you kind of want to format it to and the type of mesh that you have, you might want to do adjustments to that mesh to match the image plane. And then finally, once you make the adjustments that you want to make, you can appropriately project the image onto the mesh, right? And if you guys have any questions about this or, someone's trying to get in. Feel free to ask if it's like a burning question, or if you think it can wait till the end too. More than happy to do that. Take your questions at the end. So it sounds kind of complicated for people who aren't, in the space and who don't really know about 3D graphics, but it's actually pretty simple. And we're just going to kind of cover two tools here that allow us to do the step that we see here. Take a mesh, unwrap it, apply a movie texture, and play that texture, right? So Unity allows us to take a video file and turn it into a live texture and apply it to a mesh. And Blender allows us to create meshes. And we're using them hand in hand because Unity doesn't actually have like a standard mesh that we can generate to put a video file onto. So we're just gonna start with Blender. I know some of you don't have laptops. If some of you want to follow along, you can. But we're just gonna start with doing that first part, creating the mesh and unwrapping it. So kind of hop out here. We also have these step-by-step tutorials here that you can follow. Those will be helpful. I'm going to try to do this without... I might need to project my screen. There we go. Duplicate. Yay. Okay, cool. So when you open Blender, you usually see this cube that's initially there. I have like tooltips on how to actually go ahead and delete it, but you basically just hit the delete button. You can delete it. We're going to create a UV sphere into the scene. So you can press Shift-A to go into your menu where you can add objects. Go into your mesh menu and then just select UV sphere. A lot of this might seem really simple to you guys who use Blender. For some of you who might not have used it, let me know if you have any questions. So after that, we're just going to get into editor mode. So I just press tab to get into it. And the first thing we're going to want to do is delete these vertices in the middle. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I can actually show you. I'm just going to pull aside a window here, show you the UV image editor, and do a spherical projection. You kind of see that it's not really mapped well to this UV image. So we have the UV image on the right side, we have the 3D mesh on the left side. And we really want to get that grid like we saw earlier in the slides, right? So you can kind of see that the sphere's vertices are kind of pinching this top row here. We kind of want to delete that vertice so we can just have like a grid at the top. So we'll just go through. The sphere? So you basically just hold Shift and A. And then you can, put a UV sphere.
And is a UV sphere just a primitive sphere?
Yeah. So yeah, Blender has like a number of like primitives that you can just generate. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go through, delete. And we're basically just gonna, so if I do a spherical projection again, let's do that. You can kind of see now that it doesn't have those points where it's kind of pinching off to the side. It's kind of aligned to this grid. And if we scale to bounds, you'll see that it's fitting the UV object. But if you're going to put a video file inside of this, you might look up and see that there's like a hole in the middle of your video file. So we're just going to kind of close this up so you don't see that. And the buttons for doing all of this, if you haven't used Blender before, are all to the right here. So If you need me to slow down at all and you haven't used Blender, just let me know. You've never used it? Okay. Do you want me to slow down?
No, I'm trying to keep up.
Oh, okay.
Aaron, is this problem with the pinching of the vertices common to all 3D software, or is it something specific to Blender?
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to
And I
that.
know that Cinema 4D would create a perfect rectangular UV, but I wonder, this is one-to-one, what does Maya do, or what does 3D Studio Max do?
That's, yeah, good information. Yeah, I didn't know that other programs actually map spheres perfectly, but I'm kind of used to Blender, so I just started with this. But yeah, if you guys know any other ways to do this, feel free to share. Just kind of, do like you did, speak up. Yeah, there's definitely other ways to make a 360 video app, or make a mesh for it at least. And also, one of the interesting things, since we have a little bit of time, one of the interesting things that I found out while doing this too is that, there's multiple ways to map a 3D sphere onto a UV image too, right? The way that I'm doing it here isn't the only way. If you find another method online that works best for you, you can do that too, right? But the point is that we're just trying to take this UV image plane and appropriately match it to the wireframe of the mesh. Cool. So we're just gonna select this edge and select the second edge here. And basically what we're gonna wanna do with these edges is just like close up the loops so you don't see this huge gaping hole in your 3D sphere. So here we go. Oops. I always have slippy fingers here. And bear with me, I'm just using my laptop keyboard versus like a full-size regular keyboard. We're just gonna extrude, if you guys don't know how to do that already, scale, and then basically do a horizontal extrusion. And we're just gonna hit 0 to kind of close it up. Or you can just pinch it to whatever you want it to be, but here we go. Hit enter. Cool. So that's basically it. We just unwrapped an entire sphere. You see it mapped here. Right now, the sphere is set up in a way where if you were to apply a texture to it, it's going to appear on the outside, and that's because the normals are pointing outward, right? So we basically need to just reverse the normals on the sphere, and you'd be able to apply a texture inside the sphere. So let's first view the normals here so we can just see which direction they're pointing in. You can go into your menu here, and in your toolbar, you can kind of go to shading/UVs, and there's an option to flip the direction of the normals. And let's just press C so you can see inside here. But there you see, the normals are reversed inside. We're done. There's also, I put a YouTube video up for this, so like going through the exact same steps. And I put the whole project on our repo, so you guys can actually just download this whole thing and go through the code yourself. So I'm just gonna jump ahead then and go into Unity. Yep, here we go. Let's exit that. All right, so I'm just gonna create a new project here. Have you guys used Unity, those who are following along? Yeah?
You might not be on the screen.
Oh. Is it not duplicated anymore? Here we go. You guys see this? Cool. So, yeah, if you haven't used Unity, this might be a little bit rough as well, but the logic is very simple, and let me know if there's something that you at least don't understand. I'll just call this video project. and Unity is doing its thing. It's crashing? So those of you who are following, do you need more time to get a project open, or you're good? Good. Okay, cool. We won't need this directional light because we're just going to use an unlit shader for the file here, the OBJ. So the first thing we're going to do is just like import that file that we just created, right? You could do that by dragging the file directly into Unity, and it works that way. Or you can right-click in the assets folder and basically locate the file and pull it in that way. I think I saved it here. So let's just use that one. Cool. So as soon as you import it, it's going to come with a few things. It has a prefab that has its own material here, and it creates a material folder where it puts it. You can choose to name the material if you want. Do whatever you want as far as naming schemes, but I'm just going to name mine. And the other thing that we're going to want to do is import the actual 360 videos, right? I've downloaded some videos from the Rico Theta S gallery. They just have like a few sample videos that you can download. I've also included 2 of the videos from that gallery on the flash drive too. So if you guys are following and want to import a video that way, you can use it. So I'm just going to create a folder here, call it videos. Oh, sure. Oh, it's just choosing to stick with the capital S on cap locks. So I'm just going to import the video file. One important note about this is that you need QuickTime to actually import videos and have them recognized as movie textures within Unity. If you don't have QuickTime installed on your PC, you can kind of stop at this point because you pretty much can't do anything else. But I'm just going to move along and do this for you guys. So I'm just going to import this video. Now it usually takes like several seconds to import based on like the speed of your computer and the size of the file. I'm running on a really crappy Toshiba satellite laptop with like terrible speeds, and yeah, so this is going to take like a minute. So instead of actually making you guys wait through here, actually it went pretty fast. It's the first time it's done that. So we're just going to take that video material that we had, we're going to select it, and as soon as you select it within the file structure, you're going to see an inspector window pop up on the right side. Basically, the inspector window will have like all of the information about your material, right? Like the shader and like anything else that you want to add to it. But we're going to just switch this shader to an unlit one. And we can just make it like transparent cutout. Basically, what that means is that we're not going to allow like light to affect this model, right? So if I had like a directional light in the scene or something like that, it's not actually going to show up on this. And that's really good for video textures because you don't want the ambient light kind of affecting how the video is shown. So I'll just go into the video file here, folder, and just drag the file and put it onto the unlit shader. Is any of this making sense? Cool. So just to kind of take a step back, all we're doing at this point is just taking that mesh that we've already unwrapped, and we're taking a video file and we're placing it inside of that mesh, right? So the first part of what we're doing right now is just like taking the sphere, finding its material, putting the video onto its material, and then we're going to add a video script to that material so that the file can actually play. And then we're just going to throw it into the scene. So it's really basic. If that doesn't make sense, please let me know. Cool. So we also have just like this simple video player script. I made it in like 2 seconds. It's really simple. I can open it up here, but we're just gonna attach it to our object here. We're just gonna put it somewhere in the folder. It doesn't really matter. Oh, no, don't do that. It dragged the video instead of the video player script. Here we go. Cool. Import it twice. Don't need that. Cool. All right, so I'm just gonna open this up in Visual Studio and I can walk through it. It's kind of like self-explanatory code though, if you have a programming background, of course. If you don't, and you have like pressing questions, I might be able to answer towards the end, because it's really basic. So if you don't understand this, it's more programming that you need to understand in general. So this script is basically to allow the video to play and to control it, right? So we have a video that we can apply to a material, but it's pretty much dead until we tell it to do things, right? And what the script does is basically, you know, we can have it play on open. If I change the script to have it where it's triggered by looking at some button, and that button allows you to pause the video, that, you know, you can do that within the script too, right? So basically, the movie texture. Yep. Yeah, exactly. The movie texture is dead without a controller, right? And you need a script to actually tell it to play and to do things. So this script just has it play on open. But I'm going to show you another example that I made like 2 nights ago that does a little bit more complex things. Yeah. JavaScript. So yeah. If you know JavaScript and you don't like C#, you can use that.
So while this is loading, you mentioned you need to have QuickTime installed to load the videos into Unity.
Yeah.
Are there any particular formats, frame rate, size limitations that you should be aware of for those?
Yes. So there are certain video formats that it accepts for movie textures. There's actually let's go to their website since we have internet here. They actually tell you exactly what they're looking for, right? Movie texture.
And does it currently work out of the box? I remember at some point Unity was really sluggish with the playback of MP4 files.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's solved or if it's still like requiring immense computing power.
Repeat that again. Sorry.
At some point in the past, Unity had problems playing back MP4 files, especially H.264.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that has improved. I mean, I have info from like 6 months ago.
I haven't had any problems with it, but Unity is like a fickle little pest, and you know, it works for some people and it doesn't work for others.
But you're just using vanilla Unity, right? No extra plugins, no.
Yeah, this is just there's multiple ways to do 360 videos outside of using Unity, of course, and Blender, but we're just kind of using these tools because they're kind of commonly known amongst most developers and people who aren't even developers, right? But to answer your question about the formats, they kind of provide a list of suggested formats here. So MPEG and MP4. I don't know why you'd use Move at all, but you can use that if you want. Here's the script open here. It's kind of self-explanatory. So we basically have a movie texture that we've created. Oh, you not see it? Here we go. Is that better? Cool. So this does like the simplest thing ever, right? We're just basically setting up a public member to attach the video to, right? We're creating an audio source that basically comes from that video, and we're playing them both. So here we're defining the movie textures, obviously. We're pulling the main texture from our object, and we're setting the movie texture equal to it. A lot of it is self-explanatory. And then we're just taking the audio source from the object, and we're making the clip of that source the audio clip of the movie texture, right? And then we're just playing both, right? So if we already attached a movie texture to our object in the scene, and we've already attached it to the material, all we have to do from there is just run this code, and it should work just fine. Does this look complicated? You have questions? Any other questions? I see puzzling looks. Cool. So we're just going to move on then, and the next thing we're going to do is just drag the video sphere onto the scene. So again, this is the sphere that we made earlier in Blender. I'm just going to set it equal to the origin because that will allow me to know where it is, so I can put the main camera inside of it at the end, or I can just do that now. So you can kind of see here, I'm just centering the camera inside the sphere, so when you're in VR, you can look around and you'll see the inside of it. So the sphere has this material here that it has a child object that has video material here that we created or we named earlier. You can kind of see that it still has that video file that we attached to it. Basically what we want to do from here is go to the video player script and just drag it onto the inspector. And so back in the code, you remember we had that movie texture public member and the move audio public member. Those show up right here, so that helps answer your question there. You can attach an audio source. We're just pulling the audio source from the video, though. So from here, we can just attach the video. So. Yep. Does that make sense? And believe it or not, that's pretty much it. Should play here.
So
What's that?
is the audio a required member?
Hold on.
Like just wondering why you have the audio variable but not assigning anything to it. The audio variable you didn't assign anything to it. So just wondering if
Yeah, so this was, you can attach an audio source to it, and then let's say, right here, we're actually grabbing, so the audio variable was created here, right? But here we're actually taking the audio source and we're setting it equal to that audio variable. So it doesn't actually have to be public, this can be private. Right. That's a good point. I actually forgot to add the audio component here. So you do need an audio source because that's what it's looking for in the code. So get component audio source is going to look at the object here. I left that step out. It's going to look at the object here and try to find the audio source. And once it does, it'll set that equal to it. So yeah. You can have it play in stereo if you want. I think it depends on the file that you have, though, right? But there's a stereo option. Yeah, so there's another GUI controlled version of that application because that was like a really simple version. I put it up in the Homebrew repository, so I just skipped over it. Here we go. If you guys want to check it out, you can. And if you have questions about the code or how things are done, just put it on the Homebrew site. I really want to stress that like Homebrew isn't really like a group more than it's just like a mentality, right? Like we're just about sharing information to everyone. So like if you have information on like how to do a certain trick with 3D audio or how to, do 360 video, right? We're just kind of encouraging people to share that information with the community. I have some like really quick follow-up notes here. All the code that you saw here, the whole project, the additional GUI controlled project, and like future code that we're making is all going to be on the Homebrew repo. We're going to just try to share it on any other open repo that's out there and just kind of promote free open source code. We have another tutorial video that's going to come up, and we kind of have ideas as to what we want to do. There's eye-controlled VR that we were looking into, like I've messed with electrooculography signals, right? So you can take the difference in charge polarity between your eyes and kind of measure which direction your eyes are looking in based on the difference in voltage potential, right? You could use that as a method to track your eye movement in VR, or you can use a camera, right? So we're kind of, that's an idea for a next video tutorial. Motion capture sensors is another idea. If you guys see something that you like, just check it and hand it up to me, or if you don't have a pen at the moment, just come up, tell me. If there is an idea that you have for a tutorial that you think people would want to see, or that you'd even want to do, like Homebrew isn't controlled by me or my teammate. It's just, we're just facilitating free information, right? So like, if there's a tutorial that you don't see on that list, just put it there and we'll be happy to help with either producing it or just at least promoting it. There's also this idea of a Homebrew cookbook. So we want to do like several videos and tutorials and just gather notes from the community, and at the end just kind of create this ultimate VR cookbook of essentials, right? And it would just be like this free cookbook that's given out to the community. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a book or PDF. It could just be like a website where we have all these resources for anyone who's like into VR to kind of go into and find information, right? So it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to virtual reality. There's a list of hackathon ideas that I kind of had here. If you guys aren't into hackathons, it's okay. I don't have to cover it. But we do have a list of just like quick ideas that you can kind of use this tutorial to kind of build off of and do your own little thing. We're gonna like provide some starting point links to each of these ideas on the Homebrew VR Facebook page. I think my favorite one is like augmented reality in VR, which is basically like taking a 360 video file, and now that you're within Unity, you can use the particle systems, you can use other objects and have them move within that 360 video. So it's kind of a fun idea. And that's pretty much it. Any other questions? If you guys are lost with any of these tutorials and want to see it again, even if we end up showing this video later on, there's a YouTube video that's already made for this. You can literally just go to YouTube and type Homebrew VR, and our page comes right up. It's the first video. It's right here. So it's literally just this whole tutorial that we just did, right?
You are approaching your destination. Next step.
Cool. So that's the video. We have a Facebook page. You could just go to Homebrew VR on Facebook. You'll be able to find us.